The storm had ended, but the wind still whispered across the torn earth. Rain had washed away the ash from the sky, and now silence lay heavy over the forest. Rion trudged through mud, carrying his battered pack, boots sinking into wet ground. He wasn't looking for anyone, just salvaging parts from the wreckage of old-world tech. He never expected to find her. A crater smoked faintly up ahead. Sharp metal bones of a crashed ship jutted from the earth like ribs. Rion's hand went to the handle of his blade, more habit than fear. He stepped carefully, eyes sharp. Then he heard it. A soft, broken voice. Barely a whisper. "Help. Please." He turned quickly, heart hammering. Just beyond a twisted beam of scorched alloy, half covered in soot and tangled in frayed silver netting, lay a girl. Not human. Her skin shimmered like pale violet glass. She was bruised, cracked, and thin as a dying leaf. Her eyes glowed faintly gold even in the daylight. Huge, tired, but still pleading. "I haven't eaten." "In 20 days, she said, voice raw. "Feed me, and I'll always warm your bed." Rion blinked, stunned. "Wait. What?" Her eyes closed. She slipped into unconsciousness. Rion cursed under his breath and climbed down. Carefully, he pulled the debris off her light body. She was ice cold, bones under skin, her clothes torn. Some kind of suit, but it was no longer working. "I don't know who you are," he muttered, pulling his coat off and wrapping her up. "But you're not dying here." He wasn't a hero, but he had a heart, and something about her made it beat faster. He carried her all the way back to the bunker. Inside, the old underground shelter still had power. Rion laid her on the cot, then rummaged through his stores. Most food was human. Protein packs, dried fruit, emergency bars. But she needed something now. He opened a tube of glucose gel and gently touched it to her lips. She stirred, licked it. Her mouth moved, whispering, "Sweet." He gave her more. Slowly, over the next hour, she regained color. Not much, but enough. She opened her eyes again and stared at him. "You're not afraid?" she asked weakly. "I'm more worried about whether you'll survive," he replied, kneeling beside her. "What are you?" Her gaze held his, soft and glowing. "I am Nira." "Of the Kevelin," he nodded. "I'm Rion." She smiled faintly. "Your name is like a soft beat in my head. I like it." Rion looked away for a moment, unsure why her voice stirred something warm in his chest. "You said you'd warm my bed," he said, half teasing. "What does that mean?" Nira's cheeks flushed a soft rose lavender. "It is not what you think. My species, we bond through warmth, skin to skin. When we are cold, we fade." "You'll die without contact?" "Yes. Food, heat, closeness. I didn't mean it as barter. I just needed you." Her words were so sincere they cut through him like morning light. "You'll be safe here," he said softly. "I'll help you." She blinked fast, then whispered, "Then I am yours." That night, Rion sat beside her while she rested. Her body had stopped shaking. She lay beneath a thick blanket, but she still reached out toward him in her sleep, fingers brushing the air. He let her hand fall into his, letting their fingers entwine. Warm. She sighed. "I don't understand you," he whispered to the darkness. "But I don't want to let you go." And deep inside, he felt it. The story of his life had changed. Rion woke to a gentle warmth beside him. The cot was small, but somehow they had ended up sharing it during the night. He hadn't meant to fall asleep there, but Nira had reached for him in her sleep again, and he hadn't pulled away. Now, her head rested against his shoulder, soft breath tickling his neck. Her body was no longer ice cold. Instead, a delicate heat radiated from her skin, like the last rays of sunlight on autumn leaves. Her arm was draped loosely over his waist, and her legs had curled close to his. She looked peaceful now, and something about that made his chest tighten. He tried to ease out of the bed, not wanting to wake her, but her eyes opened, slow and golden. "You are warm," she murmured. "You feel safe." Rion gave a small laugh. "You're the one who crash-landed from the stars, and I'm the safe one?" She smiled, a little stronger today. "You saved me. That's all that matters." He brought her another energy bar and a pouch of warmed water. She nibbled carefully, her hand still trembling slightly. He noticed how her eyes never left him, like he was her anchor. "Do you remember what happened to your ship?" he asked. Nira paused. Her fingers tightened around the food. "Ambush. A trap. We were not meant to reach Earth." Rion leaned forward. "You came here on purpose?" "Yes." "I volunteered. There were stories of your kind, how humans survive. Anything. How your hearts beat through fire, pain, even loneliness. My people are fading. We needed hope." He blinked, unsure how to respond. "And they sent you?" "I wanted to come," she whispered. "But something went wrong. My ship was pulled down before I could even send a signal." Rion stared at her. A shiver passed through him. Earth wasn't safe anymore. Not since the collapse. But now he knew there were other eyes watching. Waiting. "You think more will come?" "I don't know," she said. "If they do, they won't find me. Unless you let them." Rion studied her face. There was no fear in her expression now, just trust. And something softer, deeper. It made his breath catch. "I won't let anything." "Happen to you," he said, voice low. She reached out and brushed his cheek with delicate fingers. "Then I am already home." Later, Rion helped her sit up properly and guided her to walk a little. She leaned on him, unsteady but determined. Her body had scars he hadn't noticed before, small glowing lines along her ribs and back. Not wounds, patterns, like the script of another world, etched into her skin. "What are those?" he asked gently. "Birthmarks," she replied. "In my culture, we call them soul traces. They show what we carry inside." "Do they hurt?" "No," she said, a faint blush on her cheeks. "But when someone touches them, it feels like being read." Rion hesitated, then let his hand glide over one of the markings. Her breath caught, her eyes closed. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "No," she whispered, not pulling away. It feels good. Like you see me." He didn't know what to say, so he let silence settle between them. Warm, not awkward. It was strange how natural it felt to be near her, like he wasn't just helping a stranger, but something more. By evening, she was stronger. She walked on her own, explored the bunker, asked curious questions about every device and object. She seemed fascinated by earth things, spoons, books, shoes. Everything was new, and she looked at the world like it was made of wonders. "Rion," she said at one point, holding a photo of his family, long gone. "You lived alone for a long time." He nodded. "And you were okay with that?" He shrugged. "I got used to it." Nira looked at him with something like sadness. "But humans aren't meant to be alone, just like me." He didn't argue. Deep inside, he knew she was right. That night, as they lay down again, she didn't ask, just quietly curled against him. Her fingers brushed over his chest, resting there, feeling the rhythm of his heart. "I like this sound," she said. "It tells me you're still here." Rion placed a hand gently on her waist. "I'm not going anywhere." She smiled in the dark, then whispered, "Then I'll stay warm. Just for you." And in that silence, something tender and unspoken passed between them. Neither fully understood it yet, but it had begun. The days passed gently, like soft tides. Nira's strength returned faster than Rion expected. She moved with grace, her light steps almost soundless across the bunker floor. But even as her body healed, she never strayed far from him. She followed him from room to room, watching everything he did, her gaze curious and warm. Rion found it strange, comforting, but strange. He was used to silence, solitude. Now there was laughter echoing off the old walls, the quiet hum of someone breathing beside him, the rustle of her soft steps. One morning, he caught her sitting cross-legged on the floor, carefully undoing the
pieces of a broken radio. She was focused, her lips pursed, her fingers delicate and precise. "You know how to fix that?" he asked. She looked up, her golden eyes shining. "I was an engineer. Before the war. I understand this design." "Not
fully, but enough." He crouched beside her. "Why didn't you say anything earlier?" "I didn't want you to think I was only useful for that," she said softly. "I wanted you to see me first, not my skills." Rion was quiet for a moment. Then he reached out and gently tucked a strand of her silvery hair behind her ear. "I already see you," he said. Her cheeks glowed. That alien blush he was starting to recognize. She bit her lip, looking down, but her fingers trembled slightly as they returned to the broken device. That evening, after they shared a simple dinner of dried stew and roasted root, Nira curled, close again on the cot. She always did. Sometimes she would rest her head on his shoulder. Other times, she'd simply lie close, her breath steady, her hand resting lightly over his. "Is it normal for your people to stay this close?" he asked one night, his voice barely above a whisper. She turned her face up to him, her golden eyes glowing in the dark. "Only with someone we've chosen." He felt his throat tighten. "Chosen. I want to stay with you, Rion. Not just because you fed me or kept me warm, but because when you hold me, I feel something I've never felt before." He stared at her, his heart racing. "I don't know what it means yet," she added, "but I know it's real." He reached out, brushing his thumb along her cheek. Her skin was soft, and when she leaned into the touch, he felt something stir deep in his chest. "I feel it too," he whispered. Her smile lit up the dark. The next morning, she surprised him. She wore a long scarf he'd kept from his travels, woven green, soft wool. It was wrapped around her shoulders, falling over her chest like a sash. She had tied her hair back with a piece of cord and stood tall, elegant despite the patched clothing. "You look—" Rion paused, unable to find the word. "Beautiful?" she offered with a sly grin. He laughed. "Yes, definitely. I want to help outside today," she said. "I need to feel the sky again." They went together, climbing up to the surface. The forest was quiet, birds shy after the recent storms. Nira knelt and touched the soil with wonder. "It's soft," she murmured. "It smells alive." He watched her run her fingers through the dirt, touch the leaves, and close her eyes toward the breeze. Every little moment seemed magical to her. When she spotted a flower, just one, blooming against a fallen log, she gasped. "Can I take it?" she asked. He nodded. "Of course." She picked it gently and tucked it into the scarf across her chest. "Now I carry something of this world, just like I carry something of you." Rion blinked. "Me? I carry your kindness, your warmth, your scent," she said, looking at him. "I dream about it, you know, holding you." He didn't expect that. His breath caught. He stepped closer. "You're not just a visitor anymore," he said. "You've made a place here." I don't want to leave, she replied. Even if others come, even if I'm called back, I want to be with you. She was trembling now, not from weakness, but emotion. He reached out and took her hand. Then, stay, he said simply. Nira pressed herself into his arms, her head resting on his chest. Her voice was barely a whisper. I'll keep my promise, Rion. I'll warm your bed and your heart, always. And under the open sky, he held her, close, knowing with quiet certainty that nothing else mattered more than this. She had come from the stars, but now she belonged here, with him. That night, the air in the bunker felt different, not colder, not warmer, just charged, like the quiet moments before a summer storm. Rion and Nira had eaten together in silence, not from awkwardness, but from the weight of things unspoken. They sat close, their shoulders touching, her hand occasionally brushing his as she reached for her drink. Every touch, every glance carried a deeper meaning now. After the meal, Rion lit one of the small lanterns and set it on the table. Its soft glow flickered against the bunker's old metal walls. Nira stood across from him, holding the flower she had picked earlier. It was starting to wilt, but she cradled it carefully, like a memory she refused to let go. I wish I could preserve this, she said. He tilted his head. The flower? She looked up at him. No. This feeling. He didn't know what to say, so he stepped closer instead. She didn't back away. Her eyes followed his every move, wide and searching. I've seen many stars, she whispered, but none of them made my chest ache the way your eyes do. Rion froze, heart thudding. Nira. She stepped closer, close enough for him to feel the soft warmth of her breath. When I said I'd warm your bed, I meant it. But I didn't know then that I'd want your heart too. He reached out slowly and took her hand. Her fingers slid into his without hesitation. I want to give it to you, he said, his voice quiet and true. If you'll take it. Nira's lips parted. Her gaze flicked to his mouth, then back to his eyes. I want everything. She whispered. Your heart. Your hands. Your nights. Her fingers slid up to his chest, resting over his heartbeat. May I kiss you, Rion? He didn't answer. He just leaned forward and met her lips with his. The kiss was soft. No rush, no force. Just warmth and longing shared between two people who had found something rare in the ruins of a broken world. Her lips were cool at first, then warmed quickly against his. She melted into him, arms wrapping around his neck, as if trying to fuse them together. When they finally pulled apart, breathless and quiet, Nira rested her forehead against his. Your taste. It's nothing like I imagined, she murmured. Good. Or bad? She smiled. It tastes like home. That night, when they lay on the cot, she didn't just curl beside him. She pulled him to her. Her body pressed against his, her arms encircling him, her legs tangling with his under the blanket. You're shaking, he whispered. I've never done this before, she confessed. I've never shared myself. This way. He kissed. Her shoulder, slow and gentle. Then we'll take it slow, she nodded, face buried in the crook of his neck. I trust you, Rion. I trust you with all of me. The lantern stayed lit, its soft light bathing them in a golden glow. And as they held each other, learning the shape of warmth, not just with skin, but with heart, the silence spoke for them. In her touch, there was devotion. In his breath, there was promise. Later, when the lantern burned low, she whispered, If I had never fallen from the sky, I never would have known what it's like to be wanted. Not for duty, not for mission, but just for being me." Rion ran his fingers through her hair, slow and calming. "You're not alone anymore." She smiled sleepily. "Then I'll never be cold again." He closed his eyes with her in his arms, knowing the truth of it. The stars might call to her again, but for now, she was his, and he was hers, and the bed that once felt empty was now the warmest place in the world. The days after that night moved like a dream, slow, golden, full of quiet joys. The bunker, once cold and forgotten, now echoed with soft laughter, shared meals and quiet whispers in the dark. Rion and Nira had created something small but sacred, an island of warmth in a world still struggling to heal. Nira spent her mornings repairing the old radio. Every now and then, static would crackle to life, and she'd grin, turning to Rion like a child discovering fire. He didn't care whether it worked or not. He just loved seeing her smile. One afternoon, she brought him a hand-drawn map. It was on the back of an old book page. Carefully inked lines marked the forest around them, small notes in her swirling alien script mixed with rough human letters. "You've been mapping?" he asked, impressed. She nodded. "I go out when you're asleep. Just short walks. I wanted to learn this place because I want to stay here with you. But I also want to protect it." He stared at her, heart full. "You've already given me more than I ever thought I'd have again." Nira set the map aside and leaned into him, her forehead against his chest. "And you've given me something I thought my kind couldn't feel anymore, belonging." Later that evening, the radio buzzed to life. It was faint, a few broken words in a language neither of them knew well, but it was a signal. Proof the world was still moving. Nira stared at it for a long time, then turned to Rion. "Someone is out there. Do you want to go back?" he asked gently. "If you do, I'll understand." Her eyes filled with something deep and shining. "No. I only want to send a message." They spent the night crafting it, short, simple, honest. She spoke into the radio in her native tongue, her voice strong and proud. "My name is Nira, daughter of Cirellan skies. I survived because a human shared his food, his warmth, and his heart. I am not returning. I have chosen to stay, not as a guest, but as one of them. This is not exile. This is home." Then she shut the radio off and turned to Rion. He said nothing, just pulled her into his arms. In the weeks that followed, small things changed. They built a second bed, though it was never used. They repaired a broken greenhouse on the edge of the forest, planting vegetables with bare hands and shared laughter. Nira began crafting soft clothes from what little fabric they had. She even tried cooking, though her version of stew ended up bright blue. "You're supposed to eat it, not paint with it," Rion teased. She smeared a little on his nose and grinned. "You didn't say it had to taste human." But deeper changes happened too. Nira began to hum while working, a soft melody from her world. Rion started sleeping with one arm always around her, even in the hottest nights. And every morning, they woke in each other's arms, never needing words. One crisp morning, as dew clung to the leaves outside, Nira sat with Rion on the bunker steps, sipping warmed tea. She leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, "Do you think the stars will forget me?" He looked up at the pale sky. "Maybe, but I won't." She smiled, eyes damp with quiet joy. "Then let them forget. I'd rather be remembered by you." Rion took her hand and kissed it gently. "You gave up your galaxy for me." She shook her head. "No, I found mine in you." And as the sun rose over the forest, casting golden light over their quiet corner of the world, Nira and Rion sat. Side by side, no longer alone. Not alien and human. Just two hearts, wrapped in warmth, in love, in promise. The stars had brought her here. But love, simple, steady and human, had made her stay.